The hermit, below the pyramid, there's the population / workers, TTP, protest, etc. On the Hermit's card, you'll see that as well, that the population is being herded in a certain direction by the Hermit. Underneath that, there's a broken earth. The earth itself is suffering, and we'll find out why later on. Above the population, you will have the world population control. That consists of all religions, because religion is man-made. Now, I know many will say, well, I don't belong to religion. I have a personal relationship with JC, or I have a personal relationship with Buddha, or I have a personal relationship with Muhammad, or I have a personal relationship with Confucius. I hear you. But continue listening so that maybe you can start esteeming who you need to esteem and not the one on the top of this pyramid. Because a lot of people who have not much experience and some who have plenty experience do not have the understanding they need to be free from man-made dictatorships and man-made understandings, so that you'll start learning how to lean and depend on the Father's will, leaning and depending on His unctioning from your inner man, from your inner thoughts. Not you being the creator, not you being, as some say, the I am. That's a fool who says in his heart, I am the creator. And there's a fool that says there is no creator. And all things that you read, apply the things that make logical sense. Some will say, well, I'm of the faith, another religion that says faith without works is dead. Well, make sure your faith has been worked and verified and flipped over and looked through and go to the foundation of it. And most will not stand, if any. If any. Besides that, you have governments, the intelligence community, FBI, CIA, Catholic intelligence agencies, the CIA, Jesuits, military, police, courts, and prisons. And prison definitely has been used to mind control the black male population here in the United States of America Incorporated. Then you have schools, good, bad, or indifferent, that teach students how to behave, how to think. If you don't have your ID at school today, you get to put in detention or clean the cafeteria because you don't have an ID, instead of saying, oh, I know who that student is. You don't need an ID because you make all A's. In today's society, and I can testify to this, that a child can have all A's and maybe a high B, and they can go to the disciplinary office because they forgot their ID. Can you imagine that, teachers who listen to this video? That you have so disconnected yourself to the child, that you're so connected to the paycheck and to the system, that you'll punish a child because they forgot the protocol of bringing an ID to class because you don't know that student without a piece of plastic. That's why teachers today and principals today and others that work in those facilities are raping students because they won't get to know the student and get to know the parent. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying many. Media is above the school. Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, Comcast, news corporations, etc., CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, Reuters, Alex Jones. A lot of these people are just being used under Jesuit control. Now, if I say something you don't like, just remember I just said something previous you did like because it's about somebody else. So I might have to step on your toes and step on the other person's toes in hopes that you'll be able to say, oh, let me check myself before I wreck myself. The next layer above that would be world resource control, and that's corporations from DuPont to IBM, BP and ExxonMobil, Monsanto's. That's why the earth is cracking. The earth is cracking because the earth is dry. The earth is suffering because no one's remembering that the earth was created for its people, created by the Creator, to be a beautiful specimen that we can survive on. However, wicked men led by wicked serpentine spirits are destroying the earth, cracking the earth with fracking and everything under the sun. Next thing after that would be world financial control. That's central bankers, tax revenues, interest revenues, banks of international settlement, international monetary funds, that's IMF, and world banks, fiat currency, gold, silver. The love of money definitely is the birthplace of all kinds of evil. Above that, you have think tank, or wannabe think tanks, a round table that consists of the United Nations Council on Foreign Relations Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, Club of Rome, Jesuits, Royal Institute of International Affairs, and probably more than that. Committee of 300, the world's richest, most powerful subfamilies. Crown Council of 13, world's richest, most powerful families. World Monarch, and the all-seeing, devilish, spiriting eye. Let me add that you will see religion and politics working together to deceive the masses. You will see TTP. These are the people walking through the valley of the shadow of death. They're not concerned about fear and evil because they're determined to make a change. But the problem is this. These people are being led by the hermit. Not just one hermit. Religious hermits and political hermits. And sometimes because these hermits work together, the masses cannot understand how to avoid the deception, avoid being massively controlled, programmed. A lot of people don't want to believe they're being programmed, but a lot of times you're programmed from childhood, when you're 1 and 2 years old and you're sitting up in the church and you don't know, your parents just took you there. And they went there because their parents took them there. And there are a lot of wonderful and good things that happened in that building. However, just because you say, I have a great pastor or I have a great leader in our congregation, whatever congregation it consists of. Yes, that leader may actually, it doesn't have to be a priest or a pastor or a bishop. It can have another title. The person can have another title. And just because that person's nice, that does not mean that those who are in charge of that organization are good people. Just because your pastor seems to be a humble and humble person, that does not mean that what that person's attached to, foundation, is solid. And I know many will say, well, I read out of this book and I read out of that book that this is the only way. But have you ever went back far enough without using the book to find out whether there is anything similar to what you believe in that may have been believed 10,000 years ago? Because there are writings from 10,000 years ago that people have been not allowed to see. The TTP, marching through a valley, people standing against the wiles of the devil. However, as they're standing against the wiles of the devil, they're going through, let's say, the Red Sea, like Moshe, leading the people through the Red Sea. However, Moshe is an example of a hermit who, in essence, is supposed to be good, but knows a lot about darkness, knows a lot about the secrets, knows a lot about the occult, because he was raised and trained in it. And everybody got to fight them demons. And this is what the issue is. You have leaders who go to jail and prison because they're fighting them demons. And they've learned a lot in those lodges and masonry and Shriner clubs. And they got the Bible on one side and they got the Luciferian book on the other side. And they're torn between the two because their love of the flesh and pride of life. these political leaders, the reason why they're so persuasive is because they too are lovers of the flesh, lovers of the eyes, pride of life. There are a lot of writings that when you read them, you understand, hey, that's truth. And then there are writings that you hear and you say, somebody put their fingers in that. As the Father told me, everything that you read that says, thus said him, that's not him. You have Salvation Army workers, that's a belief system. I used to think it was just some form of giving away goods, but it's not. T.D. Jakes, these leaders of the church that supposed to have prominence to help the population, they're leading people astray. Whole groups of them, from Benny Hinn to Kenneth Copeland to Eddie and Clef and Paula and so many Hebrew brothers who are declaring out the same book that they're right and the Christians are wrong, but everybody wants to walk around with power. Remember, I said previous that you're going to shake your head on what I'm saying about somebody else, but then when I start coming to you, you'll be like, it ain't me. Religion is man-made. And whatever you're in, did man have his hands writing it? Did man have his thoughts in that book? If man has his hands in that book, and man has placed his thoughts in that book, then that's a man-made religion. You will see a lot of statements that should make sense, that aren't religious nor political, but they make sense. Question, is Donald dirty? We know Hillary's dirty. Is Donald dirty? Is Donald a hermit? I say he is a hermit. Would Hillary be a hermit? Yes, Hillary would have been a hermit with a machete and not a stick. We have sheep being told by the hermit how to vote or be condemned. Masses of church members being told, this is the way, walk there in it. We have people being told, you see that narrow path there through the water? Walk through the water. Everybody says, no, I'm not going to do it. And then one person gets brave enough and runs through the middle of the path. Then next thing you know, there are several other people following the path through the waters. But see, this is the trick. The trick is, there's a way that seems right unto a man or a woman, but the end there lieth destruction. This path is man-made. This path can collapse at any time. Just like with the 9/11 building, it was made to collapse, be brought down 33 years after it was made. How do you not know that this pyramid will not come down at a set time that man has made it? Leadership have all come from certain bloodlines. From Billy Graham to T.D. Jakes, Joel Steen to the Hebrews, Farrakhan, Al Sharpton. All these people have one thing in common, and that is to brainwash you to look up to them. I think everyone should be asking others to look up to the Father which cometh their help. Just like the Jesuit Pope Francis has the support of well-prominent leaders like Kenneth Copeland, who's a Luciferian. You will see that there are many different types of hermits. Some scarier than most. Some hermits come with wolves. Some hermits come with owls. Some hermits come with death itself. Some hermits come with just a lantern. Some hermits come with Medusa-like hair. Some hermits come looking like Darth Vader. Some hermits come having a machete. Some hermits come with communism. Some hermits come with a whole bunch of death riding on them, skulls and all. Some come in pure white, like an angel. Some come with religious attire on. Some come with a black raven. Some come with the reptilian on his head. Some come with gloves of witchcraft. Some come with chains on their legs. Which will you follow? Hopefully none. Hopefully you will realize that just as the earth itself is crying out, Creator, fix me. May we cry out, Father, fix us. You make and mold us. There's nothing wrong with reconsidering your way. In all your ways, acknowledging the Father, and He'll direct your path. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Him and do righteousness. When you hear good words and true words inside your inner Noah, you should know it's the truth. May the truth always make you free. And may you also know that when people take oaths of darkness, never trust them. Just because they're nice, just because they give at hospitals, everything that they do is not always brought to the light. You know why? Because Lucifer is their light bearer. And Lucifer's light doesn't shine in darkness. Lucifer's light covers darkness. And if you are to be set free from religion and from the hermit and from walking through valleys of shadow of death and walking through rivers that should not be walked through. Oh, it sounds good. I know. It sounds good. But man should walk on land. Woman should walk on land and not in water. That's why it hasn't happened in my lifetime. The hermit. Make sure you're not following the hermit, no matter what religion it is. Make sure you follow the still small voice that will never leave you nor forsake you if you don't forsake the voice. I'm not ashamed in what I know. I've lived too long to care what people think. I'm just speaking truth. And I care enough to admit that there are too many hermits in this world today that have a false light. They sound good. They smell good. They hollering and screaming at you. They humming and sitting still, yogaing and everything else. Yet no one wants to listen to the Father's still voice that each one of us have been blessed with. Let's stop following proud religious leaders and proud political leaders. Let's put on those glasses so we can see